The Next Level is a group of theater geeks playing Dungeons and Dragons. Here is your Dungeon Master, Rob Card.
Hello and welcome to The Next Level. This is a recap video of our 5th episode, which we are calling Shattered Shadows. This is a continuation of the previous episode where we left off in the middle of a rather epic fight where the heroes were a little uncertain how things would go. But we pick up very quickly with an interrupt in the action where Leon notices something strange, some firebolts coming out of nowhere to hit one of the enemy wizards that they are fighting. After that, we pick up with the fight as it continues. Our heroes are fighting these strange, corrupted warriors that once were other races, but through some magical process are shrunken and shriveled and almost looks potentially sort of burned and essentially are these corrupted figures. And there's also wizards and the big bad, the thing guarding the sphere at the center of the dome is this horrible shadow figure. Torok begins the fighting this time around, teleporting through his rage ability over to Talon, giving him a strange berry that perhaps the barbarian had found somewhere. Talon eats it and instantly gains 20 hit points, which makes him feel a lot better and almost a little bit high. The party continues to fight to free the unspelled individuals, those who are trapped in the dome, and are using their light to good effects. Leon's bullseye lantern rod and Talon's drift globe, which they are moving around to free people and to hinder the horror and the wizards that are still fighting. Mint is the one who takes down the first wizard after he's been taking a bunch of damage from others. The strange bunny in a vest is still around and rubs up against Talon's leg, and to his own astonishment, he becomes invisible. Alphonse, Gildy's husband, casts Moonbeam upon the horror, casting it in pale light, which makes it burn with sort of celestial fire. Even though Talon is invisible, the horror gets in several good attacks on him, and Talon goes down, but he's invisible and the invisibility doesn't wear off because he wasn't the one who cast it. So how are people going to find him? Alphonse wants to heal him, but can't find him, so settles on healing Mint a little bit more and some of the others around him. Torok starts fighting the horror, and the bunny, of all things, helps Talon again, healing him so that he can get up. And now between the two of them, they're flanking the horror and able to help each other out. Leon, hidden behind the dust cloud that they had created, begins to murder some of the sleeping, corrupted warriors that have been put to sleep in the previous episode. This doesn't seem to bother Leon at all, despite some of their views on adventuring in general. The horror makes a devastating multi-person attack on everyone within 60 feet, including his allies. This hurts several of the heroes, but in a strange turn of events, kills all of the horror's allies, and somehow some of the commoners, those who are enspelled right next to the horror, completely survive. They make their save and are not hurt at all. The guard that the heroes are here to save, however, does go down, and Mint runs over to him trying to revive him, but cannot. So Alphonse comes over, gives him a little bit of healing to make sure that he survives the fight. The party continues to free the slaves and fight the boss, who's now their only target. Jacob fires a bolt that he'd created cast in light directly at the shadow globe. This does some damage, starting to crack it. The globe is still mostly intact. The horror moves out of the moonbeam, which has been doing some consistent damage to it, but Alphonse is able to reposition that right over top of him. And then finally, Gildy, with her musket, fires a shot at the horror and takes it down, but that doesn't seem to free any of the enspelled individuals. It wasn't the horror that was keeping them enspelled. Mint, as they're sort of trying to look around and figure out what to do, sees someone through the two portals that they've noticed that seem to lead into other shadow glades like this one. And there's somebody on the other side who seems sort of agitated and potentially trying to get people to come through. The party searches the dome really quickly before realizing that it's the sphere itself that seems to be doing this, and are able to attack that and crack it open, which ends all of the effects. It brings down the dome, all of the portals close, and those who were enspelled are all freed. After this, things calm down a little bit. The party takes some time to, of course, loot the scene, see what they can find, and also do some research about what's going on. They find some objects of note, some weapons and armor, mostly mundane, some gold, and after returning what they can to the people who are here, there's still about 240 gold remaining, which they can split amongst themselves. And Talon also finds a strange bag of copper coins that seem to be sort of ancient in nature. Leon searched for any connection to the Shadowfell for this particular place, but doesn't really find anything other than perhaps the horror that was here does seem to potentially be a creature of the Shadowfell. Mint and Leon free all of the animals that were trapped here, some in cages, some at a strange ritual pit, which Leon destroys. They figured that this is where these beings were creating some of the abominations that the party had encountered on their way to the dome. So the demon deer and maybe that ogre, they figured that this strange ritual area was where these abominations were created. Leon burns the bodies of those remaining here, the mages and the other warriors. Seems to be filled with a silent rage as they do this. And then the party slowly heads back to Silver Lake. Alphonse perhaps is still feeling a little compelled to look more into the evil of the Shadow Forest and these domes to see what might be going on. He knows that others exist, that there were several of these new shadow spheres created in his time there. So they flee a little bit into the forest. They don't encounter the rider that had been circling the dome that seems to have gone away, and finally get some well-deserved rest. The few commoners that had been willing to fight are helping to sort of wrangle the other commoners that are with them. And at the end of all of this, the party goes up a level. Thank you for joining us for this quick recap, and we'll hope to see you next time on the next level.